What's going on, guys? My name is Danny Dignan, also known as Imaginate, and today I wanted to share with you some of the processes that I went through to get to the final sounds that you can find in my sample pack, Glitchmachine, which is out now on Loopmasters. In the pack, you can find some atmospheres, some impacts, some sound bites, which are just glitchy edits of the Foley recordings. And we've got some soundbite loops, some Foley loops. I included some Serum patches, and the whole idea behind the pack was to record some kitchen Foley and then just process it in as many different ways as possible. To start off, we're going to take a look at our Atmos. So here's an example of an atmosphere that you can find in the pack itself. So yeah, kind of cool. Very creepy, eerie. It's got a lot of movement going on. Kind of reminds me of like an industrial complex or something along those lines. Now that sample was made from, I believe it was from a knife that I was like just scraping back and forth and whatnot, and then just stretched it out and added some processing. And I'm going to show you that processing right now. However, I'm going to use a different sample from the pack just to show you what you can do with the sounds immediately from the pack itself. So I'm going to mute this and I'm going to take off all this processing here and show you what we're working with. I'm also going to turn it down just in case. Yeah, so that's one of the sound bites you can find in the pack. To make this an atmosphere, there's a couple things that we need to consider, and that is that an atmosphere has a lot of movement going on and it's very wide and it has a long tail. And a lot of that stuff can be achieved through delays, reverbs, filtering for the movement at least, and a whole bunch of other things. Let me show you the chain. We've got Hysteresis, which is a glitch plugin from Glitchmachine. We've got Chorus. This is just a Logic stock chorus. We've got Fracture, which is another glitch plugin from Glitchmachine. Then we have Delay Designer, another chorus from Logic. Drift, Argotlunar, Delay from Logic. A Logic Reverb, got Valhalla Room, another Drift, another Enverb, another Valhalla Room, and a gain at the end just in case we need to bump it up a bit. Here's the sound again. And here it is with all the processing on it. Yeah, so right away, all that reverb and all the delays, that stuff is adding so much movement, and it's giving that tail, that atmosphere depth and everything. I'm not going to get too much into it because this is a very, very long chain, but I'm just going to explain the basics here. I started with Hysteresis just to get some pretty weird textures like that. And then I threw on the chorus to give it a little bit more width. And at this point, I like where it's headed. I'm giving it more unique a more unique characteristic just from adding on these little things. And that's where I want to start with creating atmospheres. Is I want to take the original sound and just kind of build off it a little bit. And then from that point, I'm going to add on delays. And you're probably wondering, wow, that sounds a lot different from what it just sounded like before the delays, and that doesn't sound like a maybe natural delay. You're right. The reason is because I added two very, very different delay types here. I added one that's sweeping up and one that's dropping off. So you have two different pitches going against each other just to add some contrast. And again, this delay is the stock Logic delay. Super useful plugin, and there's so many different things you can go through here. I'm not going to go through all of them, obviously, but these are just a couple that I used for creating atmospheres. Again, making these atmospheres was extremely experimental, and I went through all these different options and things just to find what really, really fit. And that's kind of the whole point, I guess, when making sounds, is it's really about what fits. So with the delays on, I'm just going to throw on Argotlunar, which is another kind of delay plugin. It's very different, though, if you're into fluid, stuttery kind of stuff. I love this plugin for that, and it just has such a unique characteristic. From there, I'm going to add Fracture, which is another glitch plugin. I'm going to add Drift. I can't really explain Drift very well, to be honest, but it is like a multi-effect plugin. And then I'm going to throw on this other chorus. So yeah, some really trippy stuff going on there, and that's just all movement. From there, that sounds pretty interesting. So I'm going to throw on these different reverbs, and this is what we're going to have. So yeah, that's our atmosphere sound, and from here, you can also stretch this out So yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do. So anyway, that's pretty much how I made the atmospheres in the pack. All right, so now let's move on to the impacts. All right, so here's an example of an impact from the pack. So yeah, typical kind of impact sound. It's got that thud. It's got a little bit of a pre-sound right here. That pre-stutter I found was just kind of cool. And then we got the tail with the tail that has the low rumble, and then it has the reverb from the top element. And yeah, that pretty much makes up an impact. So I'm going to show you some of the processes that I went through to get to those impact kind of sounds. So first things first, let me mute the kick, and I'm going to show you what our initial sound sounds like. And again, this is a soundbite sample from the pack itself. Glitchy, very simple, but we're going to make an impact from it. I'm going to put these on, and I'm just going to show you what this sounds like. So what I did was I added a pitch shifter just to bring the frequencies down, not necessarily change the pitch for any tonal difference, but more for some frequency difference. And then I added a Pro Q2, did some EQ. I've added an ensemble just to round off the sharpness of the sound. And then I added an OTT to bring it out. Added a Serum effects with some distortion here. Another chorus sort of ensemble thing. This is all in Serum FX. And then we have the delay here just to give some delay. At the end, we have an OTT just to bring it all together. And this is what it sounds like. So let's mute that, turn these off just so we can save CPU. And here's our kick. That's what we're going to use to get that low rumble and that thud. So let me put on the processing here, and this is what it sounds like. So immediately it's kind of an impact sound already. It's not super exciting and doesn't have our soundbite sound on it yet. So anyway, I'm going to mute that and then turn these off. And then I'm going to show you with the bounce down files, the bounce down audio tracks of these two different processings that we went through, what they sound like together. And I'm going to have all the processing on. Yep, we are all good. So this is what it sounds like. And we're going to include the kick in here too, so we have that thud. Yeah, so there you have it. That's the process that I went through to make the impacts you can find in the sample pack. All right, so moving on, we're going to go to our sound bites. So for the sound bites, I took the original Foley recordings and just did whatever to those Foley sounds. A lot of processing, a lot of experimental approaches to these sounds. And I found that one of the most useful things for making these soundbite sounds was this plugin, actually, not Reaktor 6, but the ensemble, I guess not plugin, but the ensemble that you can get for Reaktor called Buffeater. Super useful plugin and just really sped up the process of making these sounds. But before I get into it, I do want to take you through each step here. The first thing I did was added a pitch shifter just to lower it a little bit more and maybe get a little bit more texture out of it or something. So next I added Reaktor. Let's loop this. Let's go to the feed grains. Let's go to the stretch this time. And now we're really getting away from that original sound, and we're getting much more glitchy kind of textures. So let's just kind of play with these a little bit more, and I'll show you just the process that I went through to find the glitchy kind of sounds. So that's kind of cool. Let's use that. So once I've got the sound to a cool place using the pitch shifter and the Buffeater ensemble, I added Hysteresis here. Just to add some more glitchiness to it. So the next thing I did was add OTT to bring it out. And then I added Serum FX. And let's see, we got the dimension expander and a little bit of a little bit of hyper here just to give it some more stereo content. Let's go to Reaktor again. Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, so let's turn the gain on a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. And now what we can do is we can bounce this down. All right, and so now we've got this big audio file that we can just go through and just pick and choose sounds out of. Cool, that one's all right. Just cut it out. And there you have it. There's an example of kind of a glitchy soundbite sound. Cool, so yeah, this sound isn't too far away from the original, but it's enough glitch and it's enough futuristic sounding for my taste. Let's go to our loops now. So here I have an example of a loop that you can find in the pack. Just a nice, simple little rhythmic kind of sound. These sounds are really simple to make. I used Battery 4 from Native Instruments pretty exclusively. So what I did was I loaded up some soundbite samples here for you in Battery, and this is what they sound like. Yeah, so those are some of the soundbite sounds you can find in the pack, and I'm going to show you how I made some of the soundbite loops using Battery 4. So what I did was I find these sounds, such as this one, and I dig through and try to find some interesting texture or just some interesting little percussive element, maybe here. Yeah, so something like that's kind of cool. We'll just take a nice little slice from that. There's a nice little percussive element. Compress it a bit. Maybe tune it down. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's go on to the next one. All right, let's grab a fourth one here. So yeah, that's kind of a cool little set right there. So what I do now is I draw a MIDI region, drag this out, and then let's go to a C1. Add that, and that. All right, so with that MIDI drawn in, the next thing that I do is I go to the ARP, and this is what we have. So yeah, just a nice little percussive thing, and then I'll add OTT. Bit of EQ here. And that's pretty much the process that I went through to make the soundbite loops in the pack. So now I'm going to show you how to make the Foley loops. So let's go over to our Foley area right here. And let's unmute. And this is a Foley sample that you can find in the pack, or a Foley loop, excuse me. Yeah, so that was made from salt and pepper shakers and just different shakers that I found in my kitchen. And to make that loop, I did, like I said, almost the same thing that I did with the sound bites. Yeah, so those four right there I found were pretty useful. And again, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to draw in a MIDI. And there we have it. So now that we have our MIDI in, let's run the ARP, and this is what we have. So again, with the Foley loops, I did the same thing as the soundbite loops, which was just load in some samples, find some interesting rhythmic points, and create a loop out of it. I found this particularly useful for creating like pseudo shaker sounds, just with again with the kitchen elements and kitchen utensils that I found in my kitchen. So anyway, that's how I made the Foley loops. And let's go ahead and mute this. And we will go on to our Serum patches now. So here in the Serum patches, I'm going to show you a pad and a bass layer that I made using the Foley samples themselves. Again, I wanted to push that concept of recycling sounds and just using them in different ways, just to make it a little bit more interesting of an experiment. So I'm going to show you the pad first, and then I'll show you the bass layer, and then I will show you them together so you get an idea as to how they sound. So the pad here we have is Mirage, and this is what it sounds like. So that's the Mirage preset, and kind of a fun synth. I really liked making this one just because the release is a little bit short, but it's got this flange here on the filter, which gives it that flangey tail, that kind of metallic closed space kind of tail, which I love that kind of sound. It's really interesting. So nothing too much going on here. We just have some tube distortion, a little bit of compression, a little bit of reverb, and then we have our flange filter at the end. And we have some cutoff. And then again, here is one of the samples from the pack loaded in as a wavetable. All right, so that's the pad. Now let's go into the bass layer. And this one I believe is called Corrupted. Yes, and this one was a fun one to make too, but it was a little bit fun because I wanted to add like a top element that made it a little bit more than just a average sort of bass pad. Here's what it sounds like. So yeah, we got some hyperdimension here. We got the down sample just to give a little bit more depth. And we have the filter, which is just doing a Moog, low 6 filter, nothing too crazy. Some delay, some reverb, and then an EQ just to cut off some of the lows right there. And then these two macros over here, you can adjust the timbre. Gives it some more movement. And the bit crush right here, so you can adjust the bit crush on the top. Cool. So I'm not going to recreate these exactly, but I will show you the process that I went through from an init patch. So here we are in init, and I'm just going to go and reach for a random sample here at random. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm just going to pick one. All right, let's go for that one. And let's just drag it in here. This is what we have. A bunch of silence and then some sounds. So first of all, take away that silence there. And let's go to right there. And let's remove multi-selection. And then let's take this. And let's go to about right there. Remove all that. Remove multi-selection. And then let's take all this. We're going to process, normalize each. Let's crossfade. And then let's also do spectral, normalize each again. And this is what we have. Here's what it looks like. Now we want this to be a pad, so let's get rid of that high content immediately. Maybe add a little bit of drive. And let's add some voices. So now let's go to analog and let's just add a random one of these. Again, I'm going to close my eyes and just choose. All right, basic CJW. Let's make it more of a triangle saw. Let's do that. Let's turn this down and then add the filter to that too. So maybe some high grit. Turn that down a little bit more. And now let's go to our hyper dimension. Turn that down. It's already down. Let's turn on the hyper. Cool. So now let's add a little bit of distortion. And some chorus. Let's see what else we can do. Some compression. Yeah, no multiband. Turn the threshold up, or technically down. The ratio, let's leave maybe about right there. Kind of glues all together, maybe some gain. Not bad, not bad. Turn the master up a bit. Let's add some reverb now. Turn the mix up. Decay down. Turn up the low cut. And then the next important step is to mess the envelope a little bit. So let's move the envelope over. Let's keep the decay that, and then the release. There we go. And we can add some flanger. Some flanger plus, and then let's go to our cutoff, resonance, turn the drive up. So yeah, that's pretty much the process that I went through to make the pad sounds. Now I'm going to show you the bass pad sounds. We'll mute that. And then let's go to our bass layer. And I'm just going to grab another random foley sound. Let's grab that one. There we go. Just drop it in there. And that's what we have. So again, same process as before. I don't really want most of that. So let's just get rid of that right away. Remove multi-selection, and let's delete all the way up to 17. Cool. Now we'll do what we did before. Normalize each. One more crossfade, spectral, yada yada. Normalize each. And here we go. So we're getting close. So let's throw on another resonance with some drive and fat. And add some voices. Super, super simple. Now let's add like that top kind of sound. Let's do this. Let's go to downsample. Add some hyper dimension, just a little bit. Get that downsampling key. There you have it. Pretty similar process. So what we can do now is I'll play both duos together and we'll see how they compare and then also just what they sound like together. Yeah, so there you go. There's the two original sounds. Now let's play our new sounds. And there you have it. Kind of similar to our original patches, but that was the process that I went through to make the Serum patches. Cool. So now that I've shown you how I made the loops, the samples, and the presets, I've prepared a 4-bar loop with some of those sounds included. And we've got the loops that we made in this tutorial, as well as some of the samples from the pack itself. I've also included the original pad, the original bass layer, and then also the presets that we made. Here's the impact and that we made, and here's also the atmosphere from the pack itself. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and here it is. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed. Go check out the pack on Loopmasters. It is Imaginate presents Glitch Kitchen. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything at all, drop a comment below. You can also reach out to me at IamImaginate across all socials. That's Facebook /IamImaginate, and then Snapchat and Instagram, IamImaginate on there as well. But yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you guys. And if you grab the pack, thank you so much in advance. Really means a lot. But for now, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found this video useful or inspiring in some way. And I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. Take care. Thanks.